You're sitting on the floor of a half-empty apartment, scrolling through old photos you know you should delete, and your phone buzzes. It's not your ex. It's your bank app, reminding you that the rent is due in 3 days and your balance looks more like a sad face than a safety net. The relationship ended, the couch is gone, and now it feels like your money is walking out the door too. That's the part nobody warns you about. People talk about heartbreak, closure, healing, moving on. But in the background, bills are still auto-paying, joint credit cards are still open, your paycheck might still be going into a shared account, and you might be on the hook for stuff your ex is out there swiping for right now. Emotionally, you're done. Financially, you might still be tied together in 10 different ways. Hey, I'm Dylan from Dylan Investments. Money Talks, I translate it for you. And today we're talking about something very real: how to financially reset after a breakup or divorce in America. By the time we're done, I want you to have a clear picture of what to do with your accounts, your debts, your budget, and your future so this breakup doesn't turn into a 5-year financial mess. Let's start with something important. If you're going through a breakup or divorce right now, I'm not going to tell you to just be rational. You're not a spreadsheet. You're a human who just had a big chunk of your life ripped out. So the goal here isn't to be perfect. The goal is to keep you from stepping on the financial landmines that blow up months or years later. Here's where this gets interesting. A breakup or divorce is actually one of the few moments in life where the universe forces you to rewrite your money story. Your housing changes, your routines change, your responsibilities change. It feels chaotic, but that chaos is also the doorway to a clean reset. The key is to use that reset on your terms, not just react to what's happening to you. So let's zoom in on the first problem: financial bleeding. Imagine your money like a bathtub. Breakup happens, and suddenly there are leaks everywhere. Joint autopays still running. Subscriptions you both used. A shared Amazon account with a card still attached. Maybe a joint checking account that your ex is dipping into because they forgot things are over. Before you worry about investing, retirement, any of that, you stop the leaks. If I were sitting across from you at your kitchen table, the first thing I'd ask is, where is your money actually flowing right now? Not where you think it's going, where it's actually going. That means logging into bank accounts, credit cards, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, all of it. Go through recent transactions and ask, does this still make sense for my life now? If the answer is no, that's a leak. I knew a guy, we'll call him Alex. When he and his wife separated, he moved out, got a new place, tried to emotionally detach as fast as possible. He didn't want to fight over money, so he just left everything as it was for a while. 6 months later, he finally checked his old joint credit card. His name was still on it. She'd been using it temporarily, and now he had a balance bigger than his emergency fund and a credit score that had quietly gone downhill because the payments were hit or miss. He thought avoiding conflict was the mature move. The bank did not reward him for that. This is the part most people never see until it's too late. The moment the relationship is over, the money systems that worked okay enough during the relationship can become dangerous. If you have joint accounts, joint credit cards, shared logins, or if you were sharing one person's card for most expenses, you need clarity. That doesn't mean rage. It means boundaries. Let's talk banking hygiene for a second. If you don't already have a checking account in your name only, set one up. That's your new home base. Get your paycheck redirected there. Any direct deposits from work or side gigs, they go into that account, not a shared one. This is about making sure you can live, pay your bills, and eat without asking permission or worrying about what your ex is doing on some app. Then, look at any joint credit cards. If you can remove yourself as an authorized user from their accounts, do it. If it's a truly joint account where you're both fully responsible, talk to the bank and figure out what it would take to close the card or freeze new spending. Sometimes that means paying it down first. Sometimes it means getting the balance onto a card in your own name. The key idea is this: you do not want your ex's behavior today to have the power to wreck your credit score tomorrow. And while we're here, change your passwords. Bank logins, credit cards, PayPal, your main email, your Apple ID or Google, anything that's tied to money. I know it feels weird, especially if your relationship was built on, we don't hide things from each other. But the relationship rules have changed. Your financial security comes before your nostalgia. Now let's talk about the big one: housing. For a lot of people in America, the breakup pain really hits the moment they realize either I have to move out or I have to carry this place on one income. If you were renting together, you need to know whose name is actually on the lease. If it's just you, the landlord doesn't care that your ex moved out. They see your name and your obligation. If it's both of you, you're still both responsible, even if one person bails. So what does that actually mean for you? It means your housing decision is not just emotional, it's mathematical. Pull out your income, your basic expenses, and ask, can I realistically afford this place on my own without running up debt every month? Not, if I grind and never go out and eat ramen forever. I'm talking about a lifestyle you can sustain without slowly drowning. If the honest answer is no, downsizing is not failure. It's strategy. If you're dealing with a mortgage, it's even more serious. If your name is on that loan, the bank sees you as responsible, no matter what's happening in family court or in your group chat. That's where you might need a lawyer, a refinance, or a sale. I'm not going to pretend that's simple. But pretending we'll figure it out later is how people end up with late payments and foreclosure notices haunting their credit report for years. Here's where it gets weird. While all this heavy stuff is happening, your day-to-day life is also changing. The meals you use to split, the streaming services you use to share, the gas for 2 cars instead of 1, the weekend routines that cost money. So your old budget, if you had one, doesn't apply anymore. You're basically starting from scratch. I like to think of this as building a post-breakup budget. Not a forever budget, just a stabilization budget. Start with the absolute musts that keep your life functional. Rent or mortgage, utilities, basic groceries, transportation to work, health insurance, minimum payments on debts, and anything critical like child support if that applies to you. If you stripped your life down to the basics that keep you safe and able to work, what does that number look like? Once you know that baseline, you can compare it to your actual income. That's when you get your first honest picture of whether your situation is tight but manageable or okay, I need to earn more or cut deeper for a while. Remember, this is a transition phase. You're not designing your dream life here. You're building a financial life raft that gets you through the storm without sinking. Remember that moment when you opened your bank app and felt sick? This is the exact mechanism behind that feeling. Your brain senses that your commitments, habits, and lifestyle are built for a 2-person income or a different situation, but your reality just shifted. As soon as you do the math and get that baseline, the monster under the bed turns into a spreadsheet you can actually work with. Now, if you're going through a divorce specifically, there's another layer: legal costs and the splitting of assets and debts. Lawyers, mediators, filing fees, time off work for court dates. Money and emotions collide hard here. The temptation is to check out, say just take whatever, I don't care, I just want it over. I get that, but future you does care. Here's the part most people overlook. Before things get too messy, quietly collect information. Make a folder and grab copies or screenshots of bank statements, retirement accounts, credit card balances, car loans, the mortgage, tax returns, and any big financial documents. It's way easier to negotiate or let a lawyer help you when you're not guessing what exists. Information is power, and in this moment you really need all of it. Every state has its own rules about what's considered marital property, how debts are handled, and who owes what. I'm not your lawyer, and this isn't legal advice, but I am your money neighbor telling you this. Don't sign anything big or agree to big financial decisions in a moment of rage or exhaustion. Run those decisions by someone neutral who understands money and law, even if it's one paid consultation. Now let's zoom in on debt, because breakups and divorce love to drag debt into the drama. Joint credit cards, co-signed car loans, maybe a personal loan you took out for both of us. Here's the ugly reality. Creditors don't care whose fault the breakup was. They care whose name is on the account. If your name is there, they come to you. If you agreed to be an authorized user, that's different. But if you co-signed, you volunteered your credit score as collateral. I talked to a guy once, Jason, who co-signed on a car for his partner because they needed it to get to work. When they split, he wanted to be done emotionally, but his name was still on the loan. Payments started coming in late. He thought, not my problem anymore. That's their car. The bank disagreed. The day his credit card limit got cut because of his damaged score, it very much became his problem. So what can you actually do? If there's joint debt, try to get it into a form where each person is responsible for their part separately. That might mean refinancing a car loan into the driver's name only. It might mean doing a balance transfer into a card in your name so you can control the payments, while your ex does something similar on their side. In a divorce, sometimes this gets written into the agreement. But even then, if your name stays on a loan and the other person stops paying, lenders may still chase you. That's why getting your name off obligations where you don't control the payments is a massive win. Now let's talk about the emotional side of money after a breakup, because this is where quiet sabotage happens. There are two common reactions I see. One is shutdown mode. You ignore your accounts, avoid the mail, swipe the card, and hope for the best because you're already hurting and you can't handle more stress. The other is revenge or numb spending. Screw it. I'm going out. I'm upgrading my life. I deserve nice things after what I went through. Emotionally, both make sense. Financially, both can turn a painful year into a painful decade. Here's a better frame. Think of the next 6 to 12 months as your reset year. Not your glow-up year, not your forever life, just your reset. In a reset year, the goal is simple. Stop the bleeding, stabilize your cash flow, and build a tiny bit of breathing room. You don't have to pay off all your debt. You don't have to get rich. You just have to make sure future you isn't cleaning up even more wreckage from this season. One thing that can really help is building what I like to call a healing budget. That means you still include a little category that's just for you. Maybe it's takeout once a week, a cheap gym membership, therapy, or a hobby that keeps your mind from spiraling. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about spending a little intentionally so you don't spend a lot impulsively. If I were you, here's how I'd start putting this all together in everyday life. I'd pick one evening this week, clear the table, and bring out my laptop or phone, a notebook, and maybe something comforting to drink. I'd log into every financial app one have and write down 3 things for each. Current balance, whether it's joint or solo, and whether it's essential or optional. No judgment, just data. The goal is to see the whole battlefield, not just the one bill that's yelling the loudest. Then I'd circle anything joint or shared. Those are priority items to untangle. I'd contact the bank or lender and ask, what would it take to close this, separate this, or remove me from this? I might not be able to fix all of them in a week, but at least I'd know the steps. And that alone drops your anxiety, because your brain moves from unknown monster to specific list of problems. After that, I'd write out my new baseline budget for my life as it is now, not what it was 6 months ago. Income on one side, true must-have expenses on the other. If that math doesn't work, then we're not talking about you being bad with money. We're talking about a mismatch between income and obligations that needs a temporary adjustment. That might mean picking up an extra shift, doing some gig work, or cutting a few nice-to-haves for a bit. Not as punishment, as strategy. Let me give you another quick story. There's this guy I'll call David. Married 10 years, 2 kids, then divorce. He moved into a small apartment, and for the first few months, he felt like his whole life had shrunk. Smaller space, cheaper furniture, no more big family vacations. But he did something smart. He treated that small apartment like a temporary base camp. He ran the numbers, realized his new life couldn't support his old spending, so he cut aggressively for a year. He made extra payments on the joint debts that were stuck to his name. He cooked most meals at home. He sold stuff he didn't actually need. It wasn't glamorous, but 2 years later, his credit score was higher than before the divorce. He had a small emergency fund, and he felt something he hadn't felt in years: control. That's what I want for you. Not perfection. Control. We haven't talked yet about the future you, the one who eventually dates again or maybe gets remarried. If that feels way too far off right now, that's fine. You don't have to think about it. But here's one thing I'd love you to take from this moment when you do get there. Money needs to be part of the relationship conversation from the beginning, not a secret backroom. That doesn't mean grilling someone about their credit score on the first date. It means, over time, noticing how they talk about debt, bills, work, saving, and spending. Do they avoid money talks completely? Do they joke about never opening mail? Do they flex purchases but never mention how they're paid for? These are not just quirks. They're early warning signals about how your future joint life might feel. And when things do get serious with someone new, remember the pain you're in right now. Remember how it felt to not joint accounts, co-signed loans, shared subscriptions. Let that memory be your teacher. Maybe next time you keep at least one solid checking account that's just yours. Maybe you think twice before co-signing a loan. Maybe you agree that if you ever share a credit card, You'll review the bill together every month. Here's the twist. A breakup or divorce can actually be the moment you become more financially independent and confident than you ever were in the relationship. It's not just about getting back to zero. It's about upgrading how you think about money. Maybe in the relationship, you were the one who didn't handle the finances. You deferred. You trusted. Now you're being pushed to learn. That's scary, but it's also powerful. So if this whole topic is making your chest feel tight, let me reframe it. You're not starting over from nothing. You're starting over with experience. You know what it feels like to be financially exposed. You know what can go wrong when money is fuzzy and no one really knows what's going where. And you're getting a chance, right now, to build a money system that protects you, supports you, and reflects who you are as an individual. Here's one more thing I'd do if I were in your shoes. Once you've stabilized things a bit, even if it's months from now, I'd set one simple forward-looking goal. It might be building a $1,000 emergency fund so the next surprise doesn't knock you out. It might be paying off a specific debt that's emotionally tied to the relationship. It might be putting a small, automatic amount into a retirement account every month so future you knows you didn't give up on him. That forward goal is like a little lighthouse on the horizon. Breakups pull your brain into the past. Regret, replaying arguments, questioning decisions. A financial reset pulls a small piece of your attention into the future. It says, I don't know exactly what my life will look like yet, but I'm building something for that person I haven't met, the future me. If this video makes a few things click for you, do yourself a favor and save it. When the next weird bill shows up, or you find out your name is still on something you forgot about, you can come back here and walk through the steps again. And if you want to go deeper, the next thing you really want to understand is how to build that first emergency buffer so you're not one bad month away from disaster. That's exactly what I break down in another video. For now, remember this. A breakup or divorce can take a lot from you, but it does not get to own your financial future unless you let it. By closing the leaks, separating your accounts, being honest about your new budget, and giving yourself a reset year instead of chasing perfection, you're already way ahead of where most people end up. You're allowed to be hurt and smart at the same time. You're allowed to grieve and still open your banking app. You're allowed to feel lost and still make one clear decision today that protects future you. Those things are not opposites. They can live side by side. And if nobody has said this to you yet, I will. You're not behind. You're in a rebuilding season. And people who learn how to rebuild are usually the ones who end up the strongest. I'm Dylan from Dylan Investments. Money Talks. And I'll keep translating it for you. Have a good one, my friend.